Wake up! I'm Doug, and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel. And today, on our coffee trip around the world, we're on episode 24, where we're looking at a single origin coffee from Sulawesi. And that is a funny shaped island in Indonesia, across the Indian Ocean. So it's got all sorts of arms and legs. Looks very ungainly, but I'll show you where it is on a map. But first, I need to pour a couple so they can be cooling off. Can't really taste anything if they don't cool off. And my favorite book of maps for coffee purposes is In Coffee Obsession by Annette Moldver. So I always do this wrong. So here is the page, or 2 pages, on Sulawesi, which is a big island, big coffee producing area. 7% of the world's coffee is produced here, but 95% of it is Arabica. And here's all these arms and legs of this island, and the 2 coffee growing regions are up here in this little arm and down here in this little leg. And this came from Toraja, right here. And White Eagle Farm is the name of the place that grew it. So somewhere in this area, Toraja, is the farm that grew this coffee. And the bag didn't, whoa, let's knock it all off. The bag didn't have many details. It's not the current labeling from Smoking Beans, but I was able to print off the current label details. So it's grown from 1200 to 1800 meters, and it's an heirloom Arabica, and grown in White Eagle and Toraja, as I mentioned. And the processing is washed. So that should tell us a little something about it. I roasted this to a recommended dark level, and the beans are a little shiny. They're not oozing oil or oozing anything, but they're all very slick and shiny looking. So I think I got the dark roast right. Smells deep, rich, dark on the nose. You would not confuse this with a Central American lighter roast coffee. Wow, full-bodied. I'd say medium body, but it's big and fat. It's not a lot of high notes. There's not any floral stuff or fruitiness or anything fluffy floating around the top. It's all in the mid palate and down. There's an earthiness. It's really a clean tasting earthiness. So it's got a good base. I mean, it's full bodied, it's fat and wide in the middle, and goes all the way down. It's very compact. Weird structure comments or interpretations. And I'm not interpreting any of the earthiness as cocoa or chocolate or dark chocolate. And no bitterness. Even with the dark roast, there's no burnt anything or rubbery notes or bitter aftertaste. A little hint of something vegetal. Just a little hint of something green, and kind of baking spices, like nothing really sharp like cinnamon. It's more like a nutmeg or a cardamom, or a very muted allspice. It's a very light spiciness. It's meshing and melding with the earthiness and the vegetal notes, the green things. And if there's any fruit, it's like grapey or wine or a dark plum. But it's not very fruity. It's not very sweet. Maybe a caramely note, but no, not really. It's not sweet enough to be caramel. It's not buttery. So it's just rich and full-bodied without any one note sticking out. It's a really good meshing or integration of all the different flavors, which are light and subtle in no one really sticks out, but it's a good coffee punch. Let's see if they got notes here somewhere. Great body, chocolate spice tone, slight berry. Okay. They're very sparse in theirs, but they sort of line up with mine. Yeah, I can see berry notes. Dark ones. So, interesting. And that's the way the Indonesian coffees have been. It's very earthy and full-bodied and not a lot floating around on top. So, very solid. I'm liking this. I won't have any trouble finishing this off, and I know some dark roast friends who will gobble this up. Very nice. Let me go on to the second one. Might be a little cooler. So let's see if I can find anything else in here that I haven't mentioned yet. Again, dark, deep, rich aroma. Quite a bit cooler. It's kind of a mouth coating, even though it's been through a paper filter and doesn't feel oily. There's an astringency or something affecting my mouth that feels like a coating. It's not unpleasant, it's not bad, it's just a thing. If you were eating a big breakfast along with this, you wouldn't even notice it, I don't think. All that food would just wash it away. So yeah, hints of dark fruits here and there. Berries, plums, maybe even dried fruit. But it's not based on sweetness, it's based on fruity notes or things that remind you of fruit. Still a little sweetness. I'm not getting a lot of chocolate. The earthiness is very compact and structured and neat and not muddy, not dirty. So, good coffee. Lots of people would like this. I think the current price on this, when you go to the wholesale side and get unroasted beans, it's $11.40 for a 2-pound bag, which is pretty darn cheap. And you get to roast them yourself and control it yourself. And you'd pay a little bit more to have them roast it, but you get to pick the roast level. So I'll have a link down below in the description on how to order this or anything else from Smoking Beans. They have a lot. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to do the cream test. Let me put the cream in first, and then I won't have to stir anything. And yep, that's all mixed. On the nose, oh man, buttery chocolate milk, butterscotch right away. Smells like it's full of Hershey syrup. So cocoa notes are there, and it takes something like cream to bring them out. Actually, it was half and half I poured in, just to be precise. Some milk, some cream. Wow, that's good. It's pretty hot. Didn't overdo the cream. Yeah, cocoa notes are in there for sure. So it tastes like chocolate milk now. A buttery, caramely kind of mixture with chocolate milk. Can't say any of the other things are there. It's not earthy anymore. It's not. There's no vegetal. Maybe you could find spices, baking spices, but it's not spicy. People that drink it with cream would get along with this just fine. So this is a good one. And the second topic for today is espresso brewing. I've got a machine that makes espresso. I don't use it very often. I'm not an espresso hound or a fancy coffee drink hound of any kind, but I do like the deep, rich flavors that that espresso gives you. So before we move into the kitchen, let me remind you to give this video a thumbs up, hit that like, hit subscribe, hit that bell to get notified when the new videos come out. Leave us a question or a comment down below and get to know us a little better, and we'll get to know you. Let's move on into the kitchen and check out home espresso making. Okay, so I'm going to pull a few shots with my Breville Barista Express. BES 870 something something something. So it's been on for a while and warming up. So the water tank is full, the boiler's been on for a while and heating up the water. The group head is heating up the portafilter that holds the coffee. I've weighed out the coffee I want to use. That's really the reason for the video at this particular point, is that I found a coffee that actually worked. I've been playing with this all day and it's always just off a little bit, but I found a coffee that I just did that turned out great, and it's kind of a darkish roast that I recently roasted, fairly fresh, and it worked. So boom, on goes the video and we're gonna do it. Now I've weighed out 18 grams of these Sumatra beans that I roasted. And I'm just pouring it into an empty hopper. I don't keep this full of beans. I grind fresh every time and run everything through. So it does not stay full of beans. I keep my beans sealed up and try to use them quickly, and only fresh ones. I'm going to tear it just to make sure I get my 18 grams back, but that's my standard size. It's not something I vary. So I'm stopping the grinding about halfway through to kind of tamp it down. The ground coffee falls out, falls all over the place, makes a mess. This machine just makes a mess no matter what you're doing with liquids or with solids. There, it's partially tamped down. So that the rest of the grind won't fall all over the place. It probably still will. Okay. It's done grinding and quit. So I just keep this on the maximum amount and only put in the amount of coffee that I want and grind all of it. So you can see there's a lot of coffee almost overflowing here. So I put it down with my fingers or tamp it down a little bit with a spoon. And now I'm going to press down with the tamper that comes. Here's a hole for a resting spot right there, storage area, but I'm going to use this tamper, try to level it out, even it out, and put some good firm pressure on it. So I know I had 18.1 grams going in. I'm about to lose that 1/10 of a gram. I'm just going to blow it away in the sink. And I get this nice compact disc or pile. The loose stuff blew away. The compressed stuff stayed there. Now I'm going to do this on a scale, and I'm going to time it just out of interest. It's already set to the right grind and shot size that I used last time. So the portafilter's up here, the boiler's all hot and ready to go, and I'm just going to press the button and the timer at the same time. It's going to do a pre-infusion to get a little bloom, and then it's going to go ahead and put in all of the water. And you can see the pressure going up here on the gauge. And it's coming through. Oh, it's a nice, dark, rich looking chroma. Foamy stream coming out. And this is a double shot into a double shot cup. This is a heating area up here. This is above the boiler, and the excess heat goes straight up. And I've got 49 grams of liquid in here, which is the pre-programmed amount. So a lot of crema, very dark liquid. Smells good. So if you do things wrong, this can end up bitter or sour, but last time I did this particular Sumatra coffee that I roasted, it turned out great. Oh yeah, that's good. No sourness, no bitterness, no burnt notes, but it's deep and rich and almost a fruity note. So it's very concentrated, it's very thick and rich and lots of mouthfeel. The sweetness to it. Very good flavor. So I'm not an espresso hound or an espresso fancy drink maker, but I am enjoying the different flavors I get out of this. So this isn't, the flavor is based on pressure and doing the extraction of the coffee at a little bit lower temperature, but lots of pressure. So it pulls through flavors that gives you a different picture of the coffee you can do with an automatic drip or a pour over or a French press. And it's very concentrated, so I am still learning this thing. If there's anything scarier than a home roaster, it's a home espresso maker using the beans that a home roaster, that an amateur roaster just made. But this is a really good one. So I'm using the non-pressurized basket, which is dependent on you to put in the right dose, and it's dependent on you to have the right grind and you to have the right amount of water going through. So there's lots of variables to dial in and twist and tweak. So this one turned out good, so that's why the video is happening. If I change to a different coffee, all this might fall apart. Okay, for my second trick, I'm going to try another kind of coffee as an espresso shot. The first thing I did was the Sumatra that I roasted. It's not an espresso blend, it's not a particularly dark roast, but it turned out really good. It's tasty. This is expressly an espresso blend. It was blended that way by Orleans Coffee. So they're on my video where I went to visit a local roaster and I bought some of their stuff. So I have weighed out 18 grams, 18.1 grams of this coffee, and I'm going to put it in the hopper and grind all of it into the portafilter. Yeah. So this is the same amount I put in last time, but the coffee is different. It's a different roast level, it's going to be a different density, and something about it's going to be different and make the whole espresso experience different. Okay, I probably lost about 1/10 of a gram or so just from things not hitting the portafilter basket. I'm going to press this down. I'm going to apply some even pressure to make this a nice consistent bed. And I'm going to the sink to blow it off. And I have a nice compact disc inside my portafilter. And it's attached. And I'm going to do this on a scale with a timer again. Just curious, because I'm still learning how this thing works. Dialing in different things I'm trying to do. And I am using the non-pressurized basket, which is really the geeky one to use, where the user is responsible for all the settings. And I'm going to start a timer and the water at the same time here. And we'll see, without me changing anything on the device, I'm expecting this to be different than the last shot I did, because the coffee's different. Something will change enough that it might be sour, might be bitter, Might take too long. I'm doing double shots into a cup that should be able to hold a double shot. It took about 38 seconds to do it, even including the pre-infusion, and I got about 47 grams of output. So I think this is set for the pre-programmed amount of 60 milliliters, but I'm weighing it just to learn. I got 47 grams, so maybe they're counting some of the crema volume as milliliters of output. Okay, so I'm going to taste this guy. Smells good, doesn't seem to be sour on the nose. Oh, it's not. It's not sour, it's not bitter, it's pretty good. So it's deeper and darker and richer. It's not as fruity. This is an espresso blend called Espresso del Giorno from Orleans Coffee. It's a blend they've been doing for years. So people in this area around New Orleans like it a lot and keep asking for it. But I'm fairly new to espresso, so I don't know to ask for it. But it has good flavor. It's got some, I'm not sure what to call it. Don't bring it up if you're not going to be able to name it. Okay, that's a good shot. It's not bitter. There's less astringency on the back end. It's not a bitter note, but it's an herbal astringency, just a tiny hint of it in this coffee that I'm not getting in this one. So that's an interesting difference. So that's kind of a first for me. 2 good shots in a row. Drinkable. Actually pretty good. Better than drinkable. So I'm pretty pleased. So another feature of the Breville Barista Plus is its milk foaming capabilities. So you can steam the milk, froth the milk, foam the milk, whatever you call it. They provide a nice little stainless steel pitcher, the right dimensions. It conducts heat, so you can tell when the milk is hot. Hopefully you've got it foamy and the right amount of bubbles in it by then. So I'm going to do a little exercise here where I froth a little milk and pour it into a shot. So I want to get the shot ready first because I want to have everything ready to go when the milk is foamed. So again, I'm using the pressurized basket, the one with training wheels, the one for not thinking too much or having to work for it. And I have 18 grams of my Black Pearl Espresso beans blend from Orleans Coffee. And I'm just going to put all of it into the hopper. And I've got this set on a long time. Okay, so I just ground all of it into the portafilter. There are lots of aftermarket gadgets for espresso making. So you can buy little collars, little chutes, little things that keep all this from falling out. You can buy special levelers and tampers. It is almost like iPhone accessory territory. There are so many gadgets. So I'm pressing this pretty hard to get it down to the right size. Disc of coffee. So I'll just go ahead and stick that up in here. I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to go to the milk frothing part. So I'm going to turn on the steam while it's pointed down into a little hole, a little reservoir, a little trap. That's to build up some pressure, and then you'll hear the pump thump, 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 once the steam gets up to pressure. There's a little knob on the side here that chooses between steam and hot water. Once that steam is available, what I'm doing here is putting it under the surface, getting a little swirl going. So it's introducing bubbles and steam, which condenses it back into hot water. So there's a good swirl going, and I can tell the temperature is going up on the milk. So I hear that people are shooting for about 170 on their foamed milk, which is almost too hot to hold. So it's increasing in volume quite a bit, and the vessel, the pitcher, is warming up fast. So I'm going to turn off the steam here. This is very hot. This is the worst part that can actually burn you when you need to clean off this milk. I use a Scotch-Brite pad. Mild abrasive, it's not going to scratch the stainless steel, but it will certainly scrub off all the milk. Now, I'm going to use a slightly pre-warmed glass cup so you can see what's going on inside. And I'm just going to hit the two. I'm going to give it a little time to recover. It's only got one boiler for the steam generation and for the shot generation. So I'm going to double shot, about 50 grams, 60 milliliters, 60 grams, something in that range. So press the double shot button and you'll see what falls into the cup. The quantities of espresso and coffee involved here are so small that everything you do needs to be pre-warmed. So there's lots of thinking ahead. There's a learning curve for every part of it. There's learning curve to grinding, learning curve to brewing, learning curve to foaming milk. So this is a ridiculously large cup for this, but I want to show the espresso and then adding. So the pressure is good, as you would expect with the pressurized basket. And as soon as it's basically done dripping, yeah, there's a lot of milk that isn't foamed, it's just milk. So that's the trick, is to get all of it foamy. So when you fail, which I usually do, I had one good session and made me think I could do it. So there's the foam that's sitting on top. But I have a lot of liquid at the bottom. Tastes milky, tastes nice. So that's the fail I usually run across. So my nice caffeine cup where you can see. Now I'm far from doing latte art. Oh, pretty nice. Yeah, the milk gives it a different character than I've been tasting with just espresso shots, which turn out sour or bitter if you're not right on the mark about all the parameters. So I've got a bit more to learn here. That's good. This will give me a shot of caffeine here. So I've got a bit more to learn about every part of it. I can grind on my other grinder, or I can grind on this. I almost always use the non-pressurized basket. Dial in the right grind, make sure the pressure's good, make sure the dose of the coffee is actually good. And make sure the timing of the shot is between maybe 20 and 30, 35 seconds. The pressure needs to go up. Too high or too low, you're doing something wrong and need to look into it. So, and this is about $650 to $700 in the US. I got mine on Amazon, and they have, so there are other manufacturers doing different kinds of systems, smaller, cheaper models. And there's even a manual model that's just well machined manual press that takes your arm strength and leverage to press water, hot water, through a coffee puck at 9 bars, which can be done with a big lever. So lots of different ways to do espresso, and this is one of them. So don't forget to like and subscribe and click that bell to get notified, and we'll see you next time.